This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Well, we took a family trip up north to the Sierra Nevada foothills, and we visited a place called Apple Hill where they have fantastic apple orchards and they make the most delicious fresh apple cider. So I came home and had to come up with this recipe for fresh apple cider muffins. So as always, we get our muffin tin out and we go ahead and line a 12-cup muffin pan with some cupcake liners. And I just wanted to show you these great little autumn ones that I found at a party store. Those are really fun to dress up your muffins a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and get our dry ingredients together. And in a large bowl, we're going to get together 1 3/4 cups of flour, a half a cup of regular white sugar, and then a half a cup of brown sugar. I like the combination of sugars in this muffin. Then we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then for a little bit of spice, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And then we always want to put just a little bit of salt, and so we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we want to get a whisk, and we really want to mix this up well together. We don't want to see any pockets of cinnamon, and we want the brown sugar lumps to get nice and smoothed out. And then we're going to set this aside, and we're going to get 2 nice apples, and we're going to cut them in half, core them with your melon baller, and then we're going to chop them up into some slices like this first, and then you're going to want to split each of the slices, and then we can go ahead and line those up and run our knife through them and chop them up. Now for this muffin, I don't like to have big chunks of apple because the muffin is not that big. So if you had a big chunk of apple, it would just make this big space, so to speak, in your muffin where the cell structure of the flour and the leavening wouldn't be happening. So go ahead and chop these up, not a mince, but more of like a fine, small to fine dice. And we're going to want to measure out 1.5 cups of this small dice of apple. And then we're going to take that apple and we're going to put it right into our dry ingredients. And the reason I do that is then I can use this measuring cup again, because we want to measure out 3/4 cup of fresh apple juice or apple cider, and then add to that 1/4 cup of canola oil. And then we're going to add 1 egg. Now, since this is all going together in one bowl, it's important that when we add that egg into the cider and oil that we mix it up real well with our whisk. And then we can go ahead and pour it into the bowl with everything else. And then I add some chopped pecans to the mix. And I'm going to get 1 cup of them, and they're a fairly finely chopped nut. And go ahead and put those in. And then you're going to want to get out your spatula and really mix this together well. Now, notice I'm kind of doing a little toss at the moment right here as I turn the bowl. That's just to sort of get that liquid, incorporated with the dry ingredients a little bit. But I have to tell you, you do have to kind of look carefully here, because you don't want to leave any pockets of flour or leavening, and you really want to make sure that you get all of it really well mixed up. And now we're going to go ahead and start filling our muffin pan. Now this recipe does make 12 muffins, and it's important that we get a fairly equal amount of batter in each one of the little wells. So what I do is I get my medium cookie scoop, and I go through and I go give everybody 1 scoop. And it's about halfway full now. And then I go back and I start topping off the rest using the rest of the batter. And you'll notice by the time we get done here, because of the apple and the nuts and everything, we're going to be filling these muffin wells up pretty much all the way to the top of the liner, which is okay because we have a nice amount of baking powder in this, which will give them a lot of lift and they'll puff up just beautifully. So once you've got your muffin pan filled up, then it goes right into a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Then that time you're going to want to pull them out of the oven and see how nicely they've puffed up, which is just what I wanted. And but we do want to check and make sure that they've been cooked all the way through. So take your toothpick, pop it in one of them. If it comes out clean, then they're cooked all the way through. Now we're going to leave these just to sit in the pan for 5 minutes, just to start to cool off. Then after 5 minutes, take a sharp knife, not one that's serrated, and just run it along the edge, because sometimes even though we have the liner, the very top of the muffin kind of fuses to the side of the pan, and we want these to come out real easily. So just run your knife through, and then we want to transfer them over to a cooling rack. So I just get a fork and I just gingerly lift them out, and we let these cool for a little bit. Now these muffins are great for breakfast, but I have to say they taste even better when you let them cool a little bit. They are so appley. The combination of the fresh apple and the fresh apple cider is unbelievable, and they just keep getting better day after day. Now, if you want, after they're totally cool, you can wrap each one up individually in plastic wrap and pop them in the freezer, and that way you can have muffins any day for breakfast. Now, if you'd like to get the recipe for these fresh apple cider muffins, just go to our website and go to the Nothing But Muffin show notes. I'll have the recipe there for you. And also, don't forget to sign up for our monthly newsletter. You know, we put out 42 original shows every month, and I'll make sure that you get a newsletter that has links to each one of those shows. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.